Hello, this is Tom from Tabletop Taproom. We are doing a review of Nomad, Faster Than Light Nomad, RPG, sci-fi, sandbox goodness. And I just want to say thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. Don't forget that like, subscribe, and bell icon. Help me build the channel. And this just came a few weeks ago. I thought, oh, great, I'll do a review. And it's the end of the school year. And I had extra tutoring jobs, and I was just slam. But now school's out for summer. Tutoring jobs are done, although I'm negotiating yet another tutoring job for 3 days a week for, a little extra scratch. And now it's time to do a review of Nomad. I finally had a chance to really dig in and read this thing. And so I'm going to hit the highlights and a couple of the lowlights. But overall, I think it is a pretty good product. So let's get to it. Let's start with the character sheets. This is one of them. Now, when you purchase this, you get two of this character sheet. One's fillable and one you just print and then fill out and pencil. The fillable one is nice because you fill it and then print it, and it's all nice. And so you can do like prepared character sheets for a convention and pass them out with pre-gens at the convention. So this is the basic information from the character sheet, but they also have this one, which I think has a little more space for writing in your equipment than the other one. The other one might be like, if you're just running a space battle, then whether or not you've got a compass in your pocket probably doesn't matter. So, of course, then you can always write equipment on the back of a character sheet. It's not a problem. But this is nice. And again, this comes as you just print it, or it comes as a fillable PDF that you can then print from that. So very nice. I like these extra features. This is the book, and it's by Omer Golan-Joel, Richard Hazelwood, Josh Peters, and Robert Garita, Stellagama Publishing. I am only really familiar with Omer's work. He produces a lot of stuff that's Cepheus Engine, a lot of sci-fi stuff that I've purchased and stored on my computer in my Cepheus/Traveler folder. And so I'm familiar with his stuff, and I like the guy as a designer. He does good work. Overwhelmingly, I've been very pleased with everything I've ever purchased that had his name on it. This here, the cover, is the best. We're going to hit the, this is really a low light. This is the best artwork associated with this, other than that character sheet that looks like a cockpit. This is the best artwork you're going to see. It actually helps sell the book. I saw this and went, oh, cool. And I jumped on it. The rest of the artwork inside is, line drawings, not the best. And there's not much of it. So that's kind of a low light. The other big criticism of the book is that it's this. And it's the size of the little black traveler books. And I think that's, in part, they wanted to do that association. Oh, let's make the same size as the old traveler books. When you get into the equipment section, they have one table listing prices, then descriptions, and then you're flipping pages. Oh no, vehicles. No, I don't want vehicle weapons. Where was it I found rope and compass? Oh, it's after vehicle weapons for some stupid reason. I don't think it's well laid out and ordered. And the criticism here is I would really have preferred to see it much like this example, where it's essentially this equipment list is 2 pages of catalog, and then the descriptions for everything after this. So you could just look at these 2 pages and purchase, do your shopping run without flipping through the stinking book. And then immediately following is the description. So if you need to look something up, and it's on, I don't know, 6-8 pages of description, So, you don't get lost and you're like, oh, where was the rope? Well, the rope's right there. And, it's cheap. It's 2 credits. And I don't really need to read the description of a rope. I just need to know that it's so many meters. Rope, 50 meters, 2 credits, and it's on my list. Done shopping. Don't have to go looking for it. And I don't like that feature. So I get why they produced it as this size of a book, because they wanted to invoke that whole association with the Traveler, Little Black Books, I think, because this is a 2d6 system at its core. But I would have preferred 8.5 by 11, the classic. Now, this is my hardcover reprint of Star Frontiers, but it originally was soft cover, would lay flat, and even this lays flat on the table, open to the charts that I need. And this book is never going to do that. The minute I start really creasing this binding, I run the risk of finding out how cheap the glue is and whether or not this is going to begin to fall apart. I do not believe this has the life expectancy of my Star Frontiers materials. Even though some of them center staples are rusting a little bit on those 42-year-old products, I don't think this has the life expectancy. So those are my big lowlights with this. Now, a couple of things they did. They ripped off Dungeons and Dragons left and right in this book. Let's cover that. Starting with 5e, in no particular order of ripping off D&D, they have 5e, roll with advantage, roll with disadvantage. This is a 2d6 mechanic, but they have incorporated the classic roll with advantage, roll with disadvantage into it. This was a 5e thing, and it has kind of taken the D20 world by storm. Everybody does it now. I've seen roll with advantage, roll with disadvantage in an AD&D game. You say, well, that's not in those rules. It doesn't matter. Okay, you're advocating your character has an advantage at the table. The game master says, fine, roll with advantage. It's an AD&D game. It's 1E or 2E. It could be BX. Game master just says roll with advantage. Everybody understands this mechanic. It's very intuitive. It's easy to use. And now they've incorporated it into here. And the way they've incorporated it is you're rolling 2d6, but let's say you have a 1d advantage, a plus 1d. You're now rolling 3 dice, and you just take the highest 2 and add them together. If you're rolling with disadvantage, let's say it could be conceivable to be rolling with 2 negative -2d disadvantage. That would mean you're rolling 4 dice and you're taking the lowest 2. Not a good, that doesn't sound like fun to me. But they have incorporated this whole roll with advantage, roll with disadvantage into this dice system that is essentially Traveler, and cool, that works. They are completely limiting themselves to D6. D6 is end of story for this rule set. It is very much like that. So they're also at other times using a mechanic that I've seen in wargaming where you roll 2d6, but one of those 6s is a certain color die, and that's the ones place. So, or the tens place. And then the other d6 is another color die, and it's the ones place. So you roll the tens place d6. You're going to get a number between 1 and 6. So it'll be, 1 through 6 will be in the tens place. And then you're going to do the same with the ones place. And you put that number in the ones place. So you're going to have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 21, 22, and so on. A total of 36 possible entries. This does away with the 2d6 bell curve that the classic Traveler Cepheus Engine gets from rolling 2d6 and adding it together. It does away with that, and it gives you a different table with no bell curve. Okay. I I didn't think it was necessary. I think you could have just been like, you could have just, all right, 3d6, 36 entries. We need a 36 entry. So roll 66 and add them up. And you could have actually used that bell curve to ensure that certain results are more common and certain results on the extremes are very less common. I didn't think it was necessary, but they did use it. I have seen it before in wargaming, actually cribbed for a miniatures war game out of a boxed tabletop war game with a map and little chits, little die cut counter chits there. Yeah, so I've seen that. I didn't think it was necessary, but they added that. It's not hard to use. It was a little confusing when I first used it in a war game, but ultimately it's pretty easy to use. And then they do the roll 1 to 3, which is just a d6 divided by 2 and round up any fractions to the nearest whole number, rounded up. So they've really committed to the d6, and this is kind of like a Traveler all grown up edition of the rules. The character creation process is very similar to what you kind of expect in Traveler, minus the mini game where your character can die during character creation. I don't know if you like that or not, how you feel about that. I like the character creation mini game from Traveler because I feel like you haven't lived until your character died during character creation. It's just one of those bucket list things you have to have happen. So, and yes, I have had that happen twice. So it's a very robust system. It's very easy to use. They rip off the roll with advantage, roll with disadvantage. The next thing that they rip off from D&D is, well, it's not really ripped off, but they use, you can't copyright game mechanics. So they use the 2d6 NPC reaction table. This was used in earlier editions of D&D where there was you roll for morale or you roll for NPC reactions. You roll 2d6 and you look at the table and you had the two extremes of I want to help you, I'll just give you money, and then I want to murder you right here, right now. So 2 was I want to murder you. 12 was I have money I can give you. And then everything in the middle where the bell curve was going to force the majority of the results was, neutral, but all right, I'm a little swayed towards you, or we don't like you, but we don't know if we want to fight you. So, yeah, this is well used in these rules. Shows up multiple times. And then the next big thing that they stole from D&D was the minions rule from 4E. So we've got 5E, a 5E rule. We've got like a 1E or BX rule. And then we have a 4E rule that's being cribbed and it's the minions rule where, you have NPCs, you have swarms of NPCs coming at the player characters. One hit takes them out. That's the 4E minions rule. I think it's great. It's a great rule for if you want to have, a swarm of zombies. You want to have a last stand at Talos 4. Remember the Alamo. Remember Talos 4 type of scenario. Swarms of sand gremlins coming at the PCs. Do you have enough ammo? Don't waste your shots, because you're going to get down the hand-to-hand sooner or later, and then things could get really dicey because there's 100 sand gremlins out there. That means you got to generate 100 hits to survive. Can you do this? Sounds like an interesting scenario to me. Not for every game, but certainly it's one. I like having the option to play. I love the minions rule. I just do. They have all of the typical sci-fi elements you need in a sci-fi RPG rule set: character creation, equipment, talents, archetypes. Well differentiated characters that way, where The real differentiation on the carrot on the character comes from their archetype, but then also comes from their talent. And all right, cool. So you can have very different characters. There is no need. Yeah, there's something else that they stole from D&D. Short rests. There are no medics. There's no dedicated medic where somebody who's going to take one for the team and play the cleric. None of that. You have a short rest of 10 minutes and resting up, catching your breath, and you get all your stamina points back from the combat if you finish the combat with at least one stamina point. And you're not wounded, even though some of the damage you took to your stamina was from, an assault rifle or a laser or a fragmentation grenade or the cybernetic saber-toothed cat crunched on you a little bit. Tis but a scratch. I just got to catch my breath. I'll be fine. I can carry on. So yeah, they've done that. Now, if your character actually goes to 0 stamina, they're incapacitated out of the combat unless you roll a physical against your physical skill. If you pass it, you can continue acting. This is where it gets dangerous because once you go to 0 stamina, you now have a wound that will be triaged at the end of the combat. There's a triage roll. And if you manage to power through because you pass your physical skill roll at this point, and then you're hit again, that's a second wound. You now have 2 wounds, and each wound is a triage roll. That's not cool because if you take 3 wounds in a combat, you're instantly dead. So you can get that second wound, roll your physical skill, pass, able to continue functioning in this combat. But if you get wounded again, dead. Also, if you take an amount of damage equal to double your stamina, instantly dead. There is no death saves. Characters can die and should die and will die. Death is actually real in this RPG, as opposed to others we could name. So the short rest. Now, when you do the triage roll, you're rolling on a table, and it might say, you might end up with a thing like 1 to 6 days resting or 10 minutes in a hospital, 10 minutes treatment in the hospital, or 1 day treatment in the hospital, along those lines. So you'll have a just resting and then treatment in the hospital option with that. And let's say you're crashed on a deserted planet and you don't have access to a hospital and you don't have time to rest because stuff's happening. You can continue adventuring. But the minute you do something strenuous, like climbing a cliff or combat, you roll your physical skill. If you pass, you're fine. If not, you have reopened your wounds. You have to do another triage roll at the end of the combat on these wounds. And then whatever time it then says, you add that to the time element for rest that was required from the first triage roll. So that becomes cumulative. And you could really get behind an 8 ball on that and not be able to get your character back to full speed because of these things. So it's a game where there's a point where you push your luck too much and then you're gonna die. But this whole idea that you could be shot up in a combat, but as long as you got 1 stamina point, 10-minute rest, and you're right as the rain. It's very much a 5e D&D thing. Take your short rest. Oh yeah, you're ready to go. We're ready to go. I don't know how I feel about it, but I get the design choices that were made where there doesn't seem to be a dedicated healing battery, healing cleric, team medic per se anymore. And all of the equipment packages have a med kit in them. You're a diplomat, you have a med kit. You're a thief, you have a med kit. You're a soldier, you have a med kit. It doesn't matter. You have a med kit. So medicine's handled a little differently in this game. Just saying. And yeah, there's short rests are a thing in this game now. So that seems to be a convention that has become popular, and they're just rolling with it. So they are definitely ripping off the D&D for a Traveler Cepheus analog 2.0. And, you know, Faster Than Light Nomad is its own deal. It is its own game. But they have adapted this. It's Traveler all grown up, I feel like. Now, one of the big highlights, so you have everything in there: combat, healing, vehicle combat, examples of vehicle, everything from a cabin cruiser, submarine, pickup truck, air car, fighter jets, everything. Then they present tons of examples of spaceship construction, which basically is that all these examples are like, well, I'm not even going to bother building a ship. I'll just use that one. I'll just use that one. I'll just use that one. And space combat has individual actions for characters. So you have actions for the captain. You have actions for the pilot. You have actions for the electronic warfare officer. You have actions for the gunners and for the engineer. I like that. That goes right back to one of the original Star Trek RPGs. Had Kirk and Spock on the cover. It was a box set, and it had a very abstract combat system where, with individual actions for each and every player, whatever position they're in, to have a contribution to the overall combat in some way. And I think I love that. I think that's actually very, very good. So what I'm seeing here in these rules is there's 4 names listed. Sure, somebody, if not many of these people, are well-read, well-gamed game designers. They've seen a lot of different games, and they're incorporating a lot of different ingredients from a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from here. They're taking best parts from all over the OSR and distilling it down into Faster Than Light Nomad. Now, this is therefore a well-written game, worth playing. Doesn't have any holes, doesn't have any, blind sights. Oh, one of the neat things that they use is Traveler's famous for doing the whole TL5, TL3, TL8, TL9 BS. I got to go look those up. They dispense with that. Early primitive age, early atomic age, late atomic age, early the space age, or early interstellar age, early galactic age, the later galactic age, cosmic age. So they have all these nice descriptive titles, and it's like being back in archaeology circles where they're saying, oh, this is early Bronze Age, this is later Bronze Age, this is Iron Age. Nice descriptive titles, and they're not giving you some catalog number, and you're going, oh yeah, that's great. I got to go look that up. Damn it. No, I know what the atomic age is. I have an idea what happened in the atomic age, and when you read the description and the rules, it's self-evident. So if you're, I just love that, and it comes into play with the equipment because the equipment is by what age it's available. So you get a sword, right? Well, that's one of them earlier ages. But now we're getting a plasma sword. Oh, well, that's later interstellar age. What I'm, just pulling stuff out of the air here. But we're on a planet that is limited to early industrial age. Can't get a power sword. So we got to make do with a regular sword. Yeah, I love that. Now, because it's so well written, because it is all the holes are plugged on computer hacking, robots, vehicles, spaceship combat, all the stuff's covered. That makes it worth your money as a game to pick this up. However, where it really shines is it has a lot of support under what's called social encounters. And I thought social encounters would handle things like, the player character is flirting with a barmaid. And that's what I assumed when I first looked at the table of contents. That is not the case. The social encounters actually is about sandboxing adventures. And so you have military encounters, you have finance encounters where you might be interacting with a banker or a lawyer or a financier. What are his motives? What is he looking to get done? So you have all this dicing in these tables for support. You could be dealing with just regular citizen starport encounters. There's a whole starport encounter tables. There's a lot of stuff here that if you're really committed to using a different game, that's your favorite game, this has a lot of support for you nonetheless, particularly in the social encounters. And I just think that's absolutely great. That's where these rules really shine. And so even though I still plan on playing my beloved Star Frontiers, I'm totally ripping off portions of this, starting at the social encounters for my game. It has some support for running a commerce campaign with a freighter if you want to play Firefly, be bopping around the verse, picking up cargoes and passengers. This has some good support for that, that in some ways is almost a little bit better than the support for a commerce campaign that came in the original Star Frontiers. So I really like this. I really like these tables where they start saying, what is the motive of this banker? What is the motive of this starport potential passenger that we're encountering? I like seeing that kind of thing, and that's where this shines. And so this was worth the money to me. So I give it a 3 draw the sight thumbs up. The art is the negative. Okay. It is 2D6 Traveler Cepheus Engine, all grown up in a much more mature mechanic rule system for that style of game and play, if you're into it. And so if you like Traveler, you probably gonna really like Nomad. FTL, faster than light. So I got to give this a solid 3 thumbs up. Omer, knocked it out of the park, baby. Good job. Love these rules. Would even play this at a convention, absolutely. But I'm mostly going to use it in my personal game at home where I'm ripping off stuff at the back of the book under social encounters. So this is Tom for Tabletop Tap Room. Signing out. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. Don't forget that like, subscribe, and bell icon. And please keep on gaming and check out Nomad, Faster Than Light rules. This is a very mature rule set for a much more modern play of Traveler style gaming.